First and Now is a presentation of World Vision Canada, national charity partner of the BC Lions. Visit bclions.com/worldvision to become a supporter. Shout out to our friends at Coors Light as well. July 8th, the next on-location show at Goodco Granville. More details to come. It's Matt Baker, Bob Marjanovic, Nik Kowalski on 730 CKNW and the Lions Audio Network. The home and home with Winnipeg did not start out the way we wanted it, but we're here to break it all down. First off, fellas, how we doing? Beautiful day out there today, at least.
Yes, indeed. Enjoying the sunshine, beautiful summer weather.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of a short week. We finally got a weekend off. We got some rest, but we're gearing back up for the rematch here.
Yeah, we're not even playing the games and feeling the effect of this schedule. So, yes, a 34-20 defeat in Manitoba. You know all about it by now. Moj, I know you called the game, obviously, on this radio station. You've had a chance to look back at some of it. Anything stand out on second glance? What are you thinking?
Just not being able to get into a rhythm. Buck Pierce talked about it after the game, and for me, it was offensively not being able to stay on schedule, get into a rhythm, get into manageable second downs. As a result, you become one-dimensional offense, which makes Winnipeg's defense able to pin their ears back. And conversely, the Lions on offense, the Winnipeg on offense, they didn't make Winnipeg one-dimensional. Winnipeg ran the ball effectively. They managed to stay on schedule. As a result, manageable second down situations. And when that occurs, you make Chris Streveler, who is 5-8 as a starter, you made him look pretty good. And now he's 6-8. So congratulations to the Bombers. They executed, the Lions didn't.
That's the thing, right? Once Streveler figured it out, passing the ball, it was kind of curtains, right? Then early on, when Brady Oliveira goes down with that shoulder injury, it's obviously unfortunate. You don't want to see a player get hurt, but you're almost thinking to yourself, oh, there's a break, because you're expecting a fall off from Brady Oliveira to the next guy, the reigning MOP, right? And Oliveira. And there wasn't that with Matthew Pierce.
But it's a testament to Winnipeg's offensive line.
Oh,
right?
Time.
Yeah.
That's, the key to their success. The key to any running back success is if you have an offensive line, you're able to run the football. And we saw that with Winnipeg and the offensive line that they have. Whether it's Oliveira or whether it's Matthew Stevenson, they can run the ball effectively because they got the horses up front.
Yeah, and that's another 200-plus rushing yards, which is a topic we were looking at last week with Chris Streveler's kind of track record of starting at quarterback, and that was exactly the case last Thursday.
Yeah, the old last time it happened document in the media guide, that's already obsolete
not
here. Last time he allowed 200 yards rushing. But jokes aside, and say what you want, short week, one practice, but you have to give credit to Winnipeg. I mean, Moj talks about the offensive line. Year by year they lose guys like Liam Dobson, a great run blocker. That was the latest guy they lost against. They lost him to Hamilton in free agency, but they just keep plugging guys in. Of course, they still have Stanley Bryant at left tackle, Chris Kolankowski, solid veteran center. And those guys set the tone early. Now, the story of the game, the story of the week, going to continue to be the story of the week, is the status of number 12, Nathan Rourke, a limited participant in today's practice, Tuesday's practice. Not so sure. I mean, Buck Pierce gave a bit of an update without giving a bit of an update, as to be expected. He's day-to-day. We'll see what Wednesday and Thursday bring. I imagine, Moj, they'll take all the time required, whether they make it a game-time decision, maybe make the conclusion on Saturday, but we shall see.
Well, to me, I mean, when you mention the word oblique, my mind goes to baseball, right?
Yep.
And so many times when guys get oblique injuries in baseball, they're not the day-to-day thing. They're more the week-to-week thing. Guys are out for a span of 2 or 3 weeks. So, I don't know the severity of the injury that Nathan Rourke has, but the oblique is something that you don't want to mess with. And I think the team is going to err on the side of caution. If I'm a betting man right now and you're telling me to put down a wager on who's starting, I would probably pick Jeremiah Mazzoli. That's just my gut feeling right now. There's nothing from the team we haven't seen other than the fact that, Mazzoli took first team reps and Nathan was limited in the first practice of the week. But if I'm a betting man, I would say they would err on the side of caution. And you're probably looking at Jeremiah Mazzoli starting at quarterback. But again, that's just me. Nothing official from the team.
And another reason why you want Nathan Rourke to be playing at 100% is he's been using his legs the past 2 weeks. He was using them a lot in Winnipeg again at that 36-yard rush, and he was kind of forced to, right? Because like you guys said, there was no consistency, no rhythm to the offense in the first half, and Nathan Rourke was having to be a hero. It did result in some chunk plays. Keon Hatcher with that 77-yarder, Aiden Eberhardt with that big catch that set up touchdown drives, but it all goes back to me, whether it's Nathan Rourke or Jeremiah Mazzoli, you got to find more rhythm on first down. Don't make it second and long. It's going to be easier at home, but you still can't get in second and long against this Bombers defense.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's one positive you take. When Winnipeg was bringing pressure, when the pocket was collapsing, Nathan managed to escape more often than not. I think they only sacked him once. Do I have that right? I know you got the stat sheet in front of you, but you just mentioned it, using his legs and bringing that dual threat. So,
well, we've seen it in the past couple of years too with Vernon Adams Jr. against his defense. He has to be a superhero, and I'm talking about he as being the quarterback. And Nathan Rourke was doing some superhero-like things in that game. Just ultimately, it goes back to having that rhythm, right? Hitting the underneath stuff. There's some balls to Katoy that he probably wants back that were underneath that force these second and longs. And it's a testament though. Willie Jefferson's still out there batting balls down in the past, like he's been doing the past decade. Reddick Kremdy, I think, is one of the most underrated defensive players in this league. He was doing a great job on Katoy. But yeah, the chunk plays are there, but you got to find those underneath plays too.
Yeah, speaking of the defense specifically, we're going to preview this rematch on Saturday at 4 o'clock with Davis Sanchez in just a few minutes. After Davis, we'll take kind of a closer look on what we expect and what we want to see, some keys to victory. But defensively, some of these veterans, Gary Peters, Ben Hladek, they should be taking this personally and as they vow to get better here, Moj.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at, players, I'm sure they always say the eye in the sky don't lie, right? You're going to look at the game tape and you're going to look at the mistakes that you made, and it's upon you to get better. And it's about doing the little things. And, it's all about habits. Everybody always looks at game results and thinks, well, they got to play better in the game. You got to start that process during the course of the week, and even before that, in terms of how you prepare as an athlete. Okay, you're here at the facility for whatever, 5 or 6 hours. What are you doing when you go home? Are you playing video games the whole time? Or are you watching tape on the other team? Are you getting your workouts in? Are you eating properly? You going to McDonald's to eat? Or are you making yourself a nice, healthy meal at home? It's all about habits. It starts by yourself, and then it filters into how you practice, how you work out, and that eventually turns over into games. It transfers into how you play. So it's all about developing those habits. And I know that's one thing that Buck Pierce has talked about and the entire coaching staff has talked about. It's, being a pro, developing the right habits and having that level of excellence and having that all eventually transfer over into games.
Yeah, and regardless, last week we were talking about that they're celebrating that win for 24 hours against the Elks. You also got to forget this loss after 24 hours, right? We were talking about a guy like Gary.
Both ways.
We were giving Gary Peters his kudos for allowing -7 yards in week 1. He allowed a good chunk of yards in week 2, and Gary knows that, right? And there's things that are fixable. One was a double move. Gary knows better than that, being a veteran. And a lot of these guys are watching the film, and they'll realize those mistakes. I also think it boils down. We got to lean on guys like Matthew Betts. Sione Tuihema is making a season debut this week to get that pressure up the middle. Dwayne Hendricks and Jonah Tavai, I think, they've had their moments, especially Tavai last week.
Tavai, huge,
in the interior, but that pass rush, you got it. Like, we've seen Matthew Betts sack Zach Collaros 3 times in one game. I'm pretty sure Sione Tuihema has several sacks in the last couple of games that Winnipeg has come here, right? In each game. So those guys from the edge, they got to be difference makers coming up.
Well, the big thing is just do your job. That's the whole thing. And there's an example in that game. You go back and you watch one play. I'm not going to name the players involved or the running back involved, but there's a big run that's ripped off because 2 players are in the same gap, right? If the one player who's supposed to be outside is in his alignment and his gap, there's probably like a 1-yard gain. Instead, it was a big chunk run. And it's just a little thing. It's again, we talk about this all the time, and it ad nauseum, but little things add up to big things, right? So the big thing is do the little things, if that makes sense. And it does. Just do the little things. Do your job, right? As long as you do your job, things are going to be all right. And the example that I'll give is like the D line. Cancel your gap, squeeze down. As soon as you cross the guy's face and you try to be, in on the play or whatever, and the guy cuts back, well, guess what? You're not there canceling your gap anymore. You've got a nice chunk play again. So it's about trusting your teammates. It's about doing your job. And if you do that, you're going to be fine. If you don't, then you have problems.
And I think this one's a little easier said than done, but there's balls in the air for the taking, right? It's kind of Zach Collaros, he'll put the ball in some tight windows, but even last week, Gary Peters obviously got the pick, but Mike Alway had his hands on a football. Deontay Williams had his hands on a football. You make those turnovers, much different game.
And, on the other side, that early interception goes off the fingertips of Justin McInnes into the, I forget the name, escapes me.
Bonds, right?
Bonds.
Oh, no, Bridges, sorry.
Bridges, yeah.
Double B's in the backfield.
Yes. That's just an example. Sometimes the balls bounce your way and sometimes goes the other way.
Tipping overthrows, yep.
Yeah, a couple more minutes before we talk with Davis Sanchez, CFL on TSN panel, going to be on hand at Save on Foods Field at BC Place. Just quickly circle it back to the quarterback situation. I mean, Jeremiah Masoli was a priority signing, early hours of free agency. Should it be Masoli behind center? How do you expect this offense to be different, if at all? What do you like about Jeremiah as well? Moj, you were there in camp every day.
Well, I mean, he's a veteran, and he's a guy who has seen a lot. Nothing really, I don't think, is going to phase Jeremiah Masoli. And when you have a veteran quarterback like that, it's a calming presence with your team. It gives confidence in your group, because this is a guy who has played in Grey Cup games. He's, played a lot of games in the Canadian Football League. He's played big-time college football with Oregon and Ole Miss. He's a guy who has been around, as they say. And when you have a player like that at quarterback, it instills confidence not only in the offense, but the entire football team as well. And I think that's the one thing that you have with a veteran like Jeremiah Masoli, is that he instills confidence in your group. And he's going to go out there and, he's not the Jeremiah Masoli athletically that maybe he was 10 years ago. But I'll tell you one thing, he's a lot smarter than the Jeremiah Masoli was, say, 10 years ago, right? And that makes up for the loss of athleticism.
Yeah, and smart veteran football players often rely on other smart veteran football players. And I think I've been seeing this the past 6 weeks that Jeremiah's been up here in British Columbia, but he's been relying and developing a good rapport with a guy like Keon Hatcher Sr. Keon breaks out for a big game last week. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying if it's Jeremiah that he's going to be kind of relying on Keon on Saturday. Glenn Suter was talking about it all week in week 2, that the Bombers defense was levitating toward Keon to double coverage him and match coverage him and all those things. But expect that. Keon Hatcher, Justin McInnes hasn't quite got going yet to the level we're expecting from Justin. So those two guys, the veterans in the receiver group, they got to bring it.
And good to see Keon come up big a couple of times on the same turf where he had the injury in the Western Final just a couple of years ago. And yeah, I mean, Moj mentioned Grey Cup appearances. Jeremiah's 5th all-time on the Hamilton Tiger Cats passing list, over 15,000 yards in his 8-season tenure in Steeltown. So again, if you're just joining us on the radio side, Jeremiah got pretty much all the work with the ones. Nathan Rourke was out there in walkthrough only. Spent the rest of Tuesday's practice to the side, working with Kate and the training staff. Some extra work with Tanner Kerr, our head strength coach, afterwards. So going to take all the practice time, all the rehab time, and we shall see officially Nathan Rourke is a limited participant. We'll get Davis Sanchez, his thoughts on the Lions quarterback situation, thoughts on what he saw in Winnipeg, and overall, what his thoughts are in the first 2 weeks of the CFL season. Some interesting results that we can perhaps hit on just a few minutes. We'll have Kowalski's world-famous trivia. You got the pictures. It looks like a big trivia today. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, a little match game. I won't spoil it yet.
Game. But Moj was the victor last week. Moj has gotten better at trivia this year, so there we have it. We'll see what week 3 brings, both on the field and on the trivia side. But up next, Davis Sanchez, Grey Cup champion, a couple of times over, former BC Lion, of course. We'll get Chez's thoughts on the first 2 weeks of action in the Canadian Football League as we continue on First and Now on 730 CKNW. a presentation of World Vision Canada. And it is our pleasure now to welcome to the program a returning guest on First and Now. Always good to get a fellow North Deltian on the program, although Davis Sanchez, I believe, is in the Ring of Honor. And I was joking with Sarge Becker about the media wing. Haven't been called yet, but Davis Sanchez from TSN, former BC Lion, joining us here. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Good to see your faces.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you out here with Kate and the panel on the weekend. More on that to come. But just start off by going league-wide here. 2 weeks into the CFL campaign, you've obviously seen it all. Your overall impressions?
I mean, Western, some Western dominance, I guess, is one thing. I mean, I think East teams are what's the record right now? I don't think there's a win. They're undefeated. I think West teams are undefeated against East teams through 2 weeks. So we need a conversation that previously had about the parity between West and East that finally seemed to catch up. Is off to a bad start for the East, but look, the top 50 show told me a lot. I mean, you saw I think 25 new guys on the top 50 list. There's some turnover in the league, and there's some new stars, and that's it's good. It's good to see, and yeah, not that surprising what we've seen early on. Some guys have impressed, starting with Matthew Peterson in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and I guess bring it to the Lions now. Looking at that loss in Winnipeg, it was a lot of the same old. Good offensive line, good run game for the Bombers, even without Brady Oliveira. What are you looking at as far as this Lions team and what has to be better in this rematch?
Well, yeah, one thing that stood out was the lack of pass rush against Chris Streveler. I mean, that was what stood out to me. Streveler, if you look at the pocket they were fairly. I was shocked that their new OC is Jason Logan, and the fact that the run pass splits look similar to what they would usually do. So, they stuck with the run, even with Peterson, and they also, even with Streveler in their quarterback, they threw. But the times that he threw, the pocket was clean. He was throwing in rhythm, and give him credit. He shocked us all. I think most of us would have entered that game thinking that Streveler couldn't throw against that BC defense, but he looked excellent.
But the one thing too, Davis, when you look at the league, and I'm a firm believer in this, it's just if you make teams one-dimensional, you're in the driver's seat. And we saw that in the game against the Bombers and the Lions, was the fact that the Lions all of a sudden became one-dimensional. They couldn't run the football. Meanwhile, Streveler, his passing game was augmented by the fact that Winnipeg could run the football. It's different throwing the football when it's 2nd and 4, and it's different throwing the football when it's 2nd and 10.
Yeah, I think I believe I have it here somewhere in my notes, but the first down efficiency, you're right, Moj. Winnipeg their first down efficiency was lights out. I know this for sure off the top of my head, and it's in my notes somewhere, but BC's second down defense and Benny's group, they were pretty good on second down on defense. But the problem was on first down, Winnipeg was so efficient that didn't get him into many second downs, but there was 34%. Winnipeg was only 34% on second down. I mean, you wouldn't think you put up the points they put up and the way that game looked, you would think that they were probably more efficient on second down, but it was because they were so damn good on first down.
Huge talking point, Davis, I find. Yeah, find me a team that won by 2 touchdowns by going 34% on second down.
Yeah.
But back to your playing days. I'm sure you played in a lot of back-to-backs, home and homes across your playing days. How much did you buy into say you lost, and how much did you buy into, okay, we have to change this because we did this last week? Or how much did the week before matter, and the fact that you're playing in a home and home here?
Good question. The CFL, because of the 9 teams and because especially Western opponents, you're going to play each other, 2, 3, 4 times a year anyway, or 3, 4 times a year probably. I don't think it plays in as much maybe as it would in other leagues where you might not have as much, repeat offenders. But Yeah, I think again there's gonna be slight tweaks to the game plan, but nothing that, I think it kind of is what it is. You kind of line up, you tweak a little bit, and you go from there. But yeah, I don't think it plays as much, you know, because of we all play each other so much in this league with 9 teams.
Davis, what about the whole Zach Collaros impact in this game? What are you expecting from Winnipeg's offense? Last week I saw Stravler and he did his thing through the air and with his legs, but Zach is back. So what are you expecting from Winnipeg on offense?
Zach can't be back. It's a 2-game suspension, isn't it? Not for.
It should be 2.
You're on.
Don't get me, Sanchez. I was in a good mood until you brought that up.
Well, I mean, I would assume that somebody would say something about it, but that was, what's your take? Was Moj fired up about that?
Oh,
yeah.
The favoritism the league has towards the Bombers is comical. Do you know the Lions have played the Bombers, including last week, 5 years in a row? The Bombers have got the Lions coming off a bye. The Lions faced the Bombers coming off a bye 5 years in a row. Yeah. During the same time, the Lions have played the Bombers as the Lions come off bye once.
Wow.
So do the math. And the way Collaros gets 2 games, it should be 2 games. I'm sorry. All this stuff about the communication, it's flawed, the protocol's flawed. It's funny they had this policy in over a decade, and it wasn't a problem for any other player. And all of a sudden with Zach Collaros, it's a problem. Come on. Well, give me a break.
I would agree with you. I would agree with the league that it is flawed, and I'm glad they changed it. But I don't think you can change it once somebody is, has an offense. I mean, once the offense is there, it's there. And then you can change it later if you want, but you can't.
Thank you.
I don't think you can change it now. Yeah.
It's the exact way I feel.
So back to Nick's question, I guess. So what got that out of the way? No, this is all. I'm glad we covered it because it's worth.
What was the question, Nick?
It was
ADD. My bad.
Well, Zach is back, and obviously with Strevler, we thought we were going to get those 30, 40 rush attempts. Do you see that happening with Matthew Peterson now, or do you think Winnipeg is going to go more back to pass heavy with Zach?
Well, I think it's going to be game script dependent. I mean, they're going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to control the clock if they can, but if they get behind, they'll throw the ball. So I mean, Mike O'Shea, whoever the coordinator is, Mike O'Shea is going to be the one and probably who dictates, what style of game or what style of team they are. And I think they'll probably try to pound it if they can. If they can't, then they'll throw the ball. I mean, remember this, the one thing that I look at going to this game, guys, and you guys remember last year, the last time that Zach was there, what happened? That was the blowout in Toronto versus Toronto in the Grey Cup. That was Zach's last time playing there, and he's got
and
that was his last game. So certainly he has some, ill feelings about how he performed, about how they were, and I think he'll be highly motivated. But I guess it'll all depend on if they can protect him. But yeah, game plan wise, I expect them to do what they can do, run the ball as much as they can.
The big story as far as quarterbacks go out here, the status of Nathan Rourke. A very limited participant in practice. Jeremiah Masoli getting pretty much all the work with the ones. So should that be the route the Lions go? This is obviously a veteran guy, been in plenty of situations. What do you like about Jeremiah over the years, Davis?
I'm a big fan of Jeremiah, probably because he's an Oregon guy, but
there you go.
Also, Jeremiah is when healthy has been great. I mean, it's just a matter of can he stay healthy. So yeah, I didn't see much last week, but that's to be expected due to the circumstance. Let's hope Nathan's okay. Let's hope that he's. Have there been an announcement on him playing or not? Not yet.
Not officially. No, he's Buck Pierce is. He's playing the long game. He's day to day. So there you go.
And is there an announcement? Did he practice today? Is that official?
He was limited. He was out there in walkthrough, and then once walkthrough ended, Masoli got the bulk of the work. With Chase Bryce looked to be out there in a couple of packages, but it was mostly Jeremiah. So
okay, yeah. And look, I will say this, because we don't know who the quarterback is, but Winnipeg's defense looked excellent. I will say that I was somewhat shocked because it's a defense that there's not a lot of going into this season. Not a lot of people felt great. They're older. There are some some unknowns at some positions. I thought they look great. In particular, moving on from Alexander, and have more of a cover guy as safety. I think that's a big deal for them too. It gives them a lot of flexibility and able to do a lot of things.
Well, when you look at that Winnipeg defense too, again, for me, one of the factors was that the Lions didn't stay on schedule, right? When you're getting the Lions in second and long situations, second and nines, second and tens, whatever, it's a lot easier to play defense. I want to see how this Winnipeg defense plays when the Lions are much more efficient on first down, getting into second and four situations, second and two situations. Then I want to see how Winnipeg plays defense. Then I want to see how the Lions test them.
I mean, what happened to James Butler in the run game? I mean, under 3 yards to carry. What did you guys see there, and why was that? I mean, obviously, he only ran the ball 10 times, but more importantly, on those 10 rushes, why couldn't they get it going?
Well, I think one of the things too, Davis, and talking to the coaches, Winnipeg ran some stuff they didn't see, right? Remember, for Winnipeg's first game, so for the Lions, a little bit of on both sides of the ball, going up against some of the front's personnel, whatever formations that the Lions haven't necessarily seen. So maybe this time around, the second time around, they'll be a little bit better prepared and maybe a little bit better to adapt to what Winnipeg's running.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that would be the thing for me, guys. Looking at, honestly, for me, it's the defensively the pressure on Streveler, and if it's not Streveler now, but getting pressure on Zach is going to be key. Look at the passes that Streveler threw last week, and I know that you guys feel better about your defensive front, but there wasn't pressure at all, and we'll see how that changes this week.
Well, one big plus for the Lions, Sione Tuihem will be back in the lineup.
Yeah.
He was suspended for 2 games. He didn't have the luxury of getting it chopped in half. He doesn't play for Winnipeg. So Sione got 2 games. And, I guess hope for Lions fans, I mean, getting Tuihem back will be a plus. And I think one of the other things that comes into play is that Josh Woods is getting closer to returning. Adam O'Clair is getting closer to returning. So reinforcements are on the way, so to speak.
Davis, on the topic of, Nathan Rourke obviously being a Canadian quarterback, you've been following the CFL or around the CFL now for 25, 30 years or so, right? Have you seen the level across the board of Canadian talent that's in the league right now, or is this the best you've ever seen it at?
It's absolutely the best, no question. I joke that halfway joking that I'm not sure I would have made the team, much less been an all-star and made my way down south to the NFL. I don't know if I would have made the team my first year. That's the level is. There's no question about it. I was with Sydney and Chase Brown yesterday here in Toronto, and we were talking about the same thing. These guys nowadays, Canadians are. There's not that gap, and I think a lot of it is just. And they were talking about it yesterday. Is just having the opportunity, whether it's camps, whether it's guys going down south, the high school, which prep school, which I don't think is necessary, but it's an option. But just having the ability to go up against other guys and be able to test yourself, engage yourself is one thing that we never had back in the day. And guys know where they stand now, and I don't think I think we're up there right with everybody.
Hey, speaking of good Canadians, how happy were you to see that your old teammate Brian Chew got the call to the Hall of Fame last week?
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, Chewy's a warrior for a long time, and well deserved. Also, my teammate Javon.
There you go. Yes.
Also well deserved. And 2 guys are pretty good for a long time, and I was happy to see that. Absolutely.
Any good Jovan stories you can share on this platform?
I'll tell you, he was as you know, he was a dominant dude. That's the only story I have is he was absolutely dominant for a span there. It was pretty much leave him alone, let him do his thing, and your quarterback's gonna be clean, and that's pretty tough at that position.
Yeah, pretty much an all-star every year he played here. Well, we got you for a couple more minutes. Just a quick chance to promote it. The CFL on TSN panel. Last couple of years, you guys came out here for the last 2 concert kickoffs, I think it was, and now you're hitting every city, I believe, throughout the season. Just talk about how that came about and how much you're looking forward to getting more of a game day tradition coming up this season.
Yeah, it's man, being out there, on location is great. I mean, we love it. Get a chance to talk. I mean, not only just to connect with the guys and you guys, teams, fans. It's just a good environment. It kind of gives that almost, you know, Monday night football, Thursday night football. Just it gives a different energy having, the broadcast on location, and it's not us. It's just the fact that everything's interactive and just having that feel of the connectivity. So I love it. Fans are great, and it's awesome to do. And I think it's going to be something that's going to. We've had great feedback thus far from our bosses, and so I think it's hopefully something that we can continue for a long time. Look forward to getting out there on Saturday.
Well, hold on a second. Let's get into the real fact of the matter here. The night before the broadcast, I mean, you got to have a spot. You're going out with the crew. Is it Carderos, Black and Blue, Fortes? You tell me, what's the haunt?
Moj, I feel where you're going with this. But the difference between us, and I'll speak for Kate and Milton and Enoch, we work, Moj. So
right.
We actually are flying in early on Saturday morning because we have to work Friday night on the panel in Toronto, flying in early Saturday morning for the game. So we won't be doing any of that stuff you're talking about. But if I need suggestions, I would always come to you.
All right, good.
Yeah, and very quickly, we got a dunk tank out at the tailgate party.
Yeah.
But I already talked to Kate about this. You guys can't do it because you're working the doubleheader starting at noon. So maybe we're going to have to send Farhan to the dunk tank, we think. That's our plan. What do you think?
I think if you polled media members across the country on who they want to get dunked, it for sure would be Farhan anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I think we could all agree let's dunk Farhan.
Yeah, well said. Hey, this has always been great and really a great initiative with the CFL on TSN this season. We will look forward to perhaps heckling you on the sidelines. What do you think?
It will be reciprocal, Matt. So all good. You guys are crushing it out there. The Snoop concert looked great. Football's back, and look forward to seeing you guys Saturday.
Just need to get back in this win column. Absolutely. Davis Sanchez, the pride of North Delta. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple days, sir.
Summer's here and it's time to party, Lion style. Join the BC Lions on Saturday, June 21st at 4 p.m. as they take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for our first ever summer camp game. Celebrate the season with our pre-game backyard bash, complete with summer camp games, a campground cookout, and even s'mores. And don't miss the halftime grad walk honoring the class of 2025. Get your tickets now at bclions.com.
Back on First and Now. A pleasure to be here on 730 CKNW. Reminder, our next on location, July 8th, Tuesday, Goodco Granville. We'll have Coors Light specials, Smash Burger specials, and some special player appearances that we will promote closer to the date. Lions and Blue Bombers, Saturday, 4 o'clock. It's a chance to get ready to channel your inner camper. Yes, kickoff just days away. It's time for summer camp at the BC Lions at Save On Foods Field at BC Place. Think s'mores, a halftime grad walk, and camp-style activations happening all game long. It's also our first 4 o'clock kickoff of the season, which means you'll have plenty of time to soak up the action and still catch a beautiful Vancouver sunset to close your day. As a ticket holder, there are a few key things we want you to know before heading down. Be sure to check our game day info page for everything you need to plan your summer camp experience. I think Nik might sneak out and have some marshmallow s'mores at Terry Fox Plaza. Moj, you go camping a lot as a kid?
No.
Yeah. Me neither.
No. You know, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's happy with the 4 o'clock kickoff, though, right? So
Well, I want to see
he's going
everybody.
he's going to go down to Jericho Beach at about 9 o'clock. He's going to have a little picnic basketball.
My days end late.
Yeah.
Go down there and just kind of chilling, doing the romance thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's more appropriate
To be young again, eh?
Yeah.
The thing I love about 4 o'clock, though, if I were a fan and I could indulge in all those things, is that you can do that after the game. You can come from the island, you can come from Kamloops, you can come from wherever, and you still got lots of time. So the 4 o'clocks, I'm always a fan of. At 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. actually for our home opener. That was a little late for me, even though I am a Night
7:28
Owl.
or whatever.
Yeah.
The 4 o'clocks, I think, it kind of started like when the Canucks would play the Leafs. That was like the first incident.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
you started seeing, the Lions do the 4 o'clock starts even. But I think it's great because I'm growing more and more accustomed to the 4 o'clocks. And I actually like it because, like you say, at the end of the game, you can still do stuff. You can go for dinner. You can enjoy whatever you want after the game. So, and here's the other thing too. Is I don't know about you guys. You guys are probably the same way. If it's a 7 o'clock start, the way we're wired, we're not falling asleep like 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah, easily.
So it's just like, the game's over. You're still on this adrenaline rush from doing what you do. And at least this way, you have a little bit of time to come down and kind of still sustain like your normal sleep pattern.
It's prime time too, out east, 7 p.m. out east.
Yeah. And then, well, the thing about going to bed at 2 o'clock, whatever, is when you have a young child, they still wake you up at 7:30 and want to play. You know about that. So, yeah, and it's a credit to Amar Doman, Dwayne Vannot, everybody for, researching the market, finding out what fans want. And it allows those fans, like you say, from the island and the interior to perhaps come in and out in the same day. So summer camp, again, the game day info page at bclions.com. And we look forward to hopefully recapping a Lions win. And the implications here are huge. Final regular season meeting with these Bombers, another little quirk in the schedule. Moj, what's one area you're looking to key in
One
on
of the
here?
trenches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is the big thing, both offensively and defensively. I talk about it all the time. And the reason why, it's because to me, it's paramount to success. That's where it starts. You can have the greatest quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, but if you're not winning the battle in the trenches on offense, you're not going to have success. Conversely, on defense, it's the same. You've got to win the battle in the trenches. You've got to execute in terms of line play. And if you do that, well, then you're in good shape.
Yeah, for me, I think this goes hand in hand with what you're saying, Moj, but you got to make Winnipeg uncomfortable early, whether that's putting them in a hole, right? How many times in the past couple of years in this little rivalry with the Bombers where, even last week, it's 18-10 for the Bombers at halftime, but you feel lucky to be down 18-10. That can't happen this week. It's oftentimes when the Lions have beaten the Bombers, the Lions have gotten an early lead and they've held it. So whether that's Javon Katoy being physical early and setting the tone, James Butler and Mike Alway on defense, make the Bombers physically feel uncomfortable and mentally feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, for me, it's special teams. A couple times there last week, the Lions would get some momentum, get a touchdown, get a field goal, allow a big return, and all of a sudden Winnipeg starting on the edge of field goal range. That can't happen. We know special teams has been a major strength of this Winnipeg team pretty much since Mike O'Shea has been at the helm, of course, given his special teams background before he became a head coach. And, even create a turnover on teams, get Patrice or someone to level someone and spring a ball loose. That'll go a long way. Playing with a short field. If it is Jeremiah Masoli, who knows? Let him start on the edge of field goal range. And that's on the defense, too, to maybe create those turnovers. So, yeah, special teams has to be cleaned up.
Yeah, and obviously a bit of a wrinkle last week prior to the game with Jermaine Jackson tweaking something in the warm-ups, right, and forcing Robert Carter Jr. to force into that return role. But on the teams in the cover unit, it's been kind of the same characters, making the plays, right? Ben Haladic and Patrice Rene, they had a trio of special teams tackles last week, as did Ezekiel Tied. So, got to get everybody involved on teams too. I know I saw Jackson Finley make his first CFL tackle last week on teams. So the more the merrier that are involved in teams, and especially on the cover unit too.
All right, 4 o'clock kickoff, like we're saying. We played the first game of the week last week. It'll be the last game this time around. Week 3 starting on Thursday, Montreal in Edmonton. I think it's fair to say the Alouettes are worthy of their spot at the top of the power rankings. A very balanced football team.
Yeah, Davis Alexander's looked great at quarterback for him. Of course, they gambled. Well, I shouldn't say they gambled. Of course, Cody Fajardo took that team to a Grey Cup 2 years ago, but they felt confident enough in Davis Alexander. So, they're playing some good football, and they're going to go up against Edmonton. We'll see what happens there. I think the Rough Riders and the Argonauts, Saskatchewan has looked awfully good.
Yeah.
Argonauts have kind of misfired on offense with Nick Arbuckle. Red Blacks and the Stampeders, again, talk about the Stampeders. They've looked good, all the big hit losing Reggie Beggleton.
Yeah.
But Vernon Adams Jr.'s got that team rolling. So it's going to be interesting to see his teams still kind of find their way early in the season. And, of course, here in Vancouver, we get the Bombers on Saturday, and Lions hoping to take 2 on the rematch.
And a big element to that Ottawa-Calgary game, they're like us, a little bit of uncertainty. Drew Brown, though, was out there this week to start for the Red Blacks. That's obviously going to be a major boost to that offense.
Yeah, it looks like a shootout's brewing in Calgary on Saturday.
Yeah.
Vernon Adams Jr., with Reggie Beggleton or not, he has that offense rolling. And Drew Brown, we saw what the Ottawa offense can do when he's healthy. So, and on the other side, too, both teams have kind of struggled a bit through the past, specifically Ottawa. Adrian Green with 2 picks last week and a house call, too, at that. So, guys making plays on Calgary. So I'm interested to see that. It's a good start for them, though. 2-0. So another big test with the Red Blacks coming in.
Yeah, good to see Rick Campbell back on their sidelines with his buddy Bob Dice. And, of course, don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but next week the Lions will be going to Saskatchewan for a Saturday night. So think of how the implications can be there, but have to take care of business against the Blue Bombers first. All right, we'll wrap things up with Nik Kowalski's world-famous trivia, some final thoughts as well as we continue to get ready for a Lions-Blue Bombers rematch in Week 3, all coming up on First and Now on 730 CKNW. It's a presentation of World Vision Canada. Final segment on First and Now, 730 CKNW, wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, we're going to wrap it up with a bang. From Surrey to Sarasota, Nik Kowalski's world-famous trivia.
Well, we talked about it, fellas. Summer camp is the theme at the home game this week, and I thought we'd make this related to our graduates from our team, right? Because a lot of our players obviously went to university, played university, and it wasn't just for sports. They got their educations there too. So this week, I have picked some random players with their college majors. For those watching the podcast on YouTube right now, I am putting out the names of 8 different offensive players, and you guys have to name or match them up with their college majors. So we got Nathan Rourke, James Butler, Aiden Eberhardt, Stanley Berryhill, Dijon Allen, Chris Slugger, Justin McInnes, and Jarrell Broxton. And in front of me are there 8 different majors you guys got to match them to. So one is sport management, one is communications, one is health kinesiology and leisure studies. We have a literature, learning and leadership, sociology, physical activity and sport coaching, another communication studies, and a finance major. So can you guys match these 8 players to these different
Butler Communications.
Butler Communications is correct. Hot start for Moj. You guys let's play this one together, guys. You guys.
Nathan Rourke is, I want to say, sociology.
Incorrect.
No.
I'm going to go Berryhill and physical activity and sport coaching.
You are incorrect, Moj. So again, finance, communications, physical
Who's our other
activity.
communications guy?
You wouldn't expect this one.
Broxton.
Yeah.
Broxton's not communication studies.
McInnes?
Berryhill.
Nope.
No.
You wouldn't.
Eberhardt.
You wouldn't.
Slugger.
Dejon Allen.
Slugger.
Chris Slugger,
there you go.
communication studies. So you got the 2 communications guys down.
Sociology, Berryhill.
Sociology is not Berryhill.
Nathan Rourke. Come on, Pink. You should know Rourke.
I should know that.
Phone
Yeah.
Farhan up. He's
Farhan's the agent. Nathan Rourke. Physical activity and sport.
There you go.
Yeah.
Physical activity and sport for Rourke. So you got 3 of the 8 down on offense.
Dejon Allen, I'll go finance.
That is incorrect.
Eberhard finance. He's smart.
Aiden Eberhardt is the finance major. I was going to pick Pearson for that, but I thought it'd be too obvious. But Aiden Eberhardt is a finance major.
We got Pearson on the list. He's not on.
Pearson's on, but Pearson is a finance
So we got
major. Right?
Berryhill. Who? Berryhill, McInnes.
Allen and Broxton.
Jarrell Broxton, let's go
Literacy, learning, and leadership for Broxton.
That is incorrect.
physical activity.
That is incorrect.
Broxton.
Sociology.
Incorrect.
McInnes, physical activity and sport.
That is incorrect. Nathan Rourke is a physical activity.
Oh, that's right.
So here's what we got left. We have sport management, health kinesiology and leisure, literacy, learning and leadership, and sociology.
Berryhill, sport management.
Incorrect.
Allen Sport Management.
Incorrect.
McInnes Sport Management.
There you go. I guess by default, we're going to go Justin McInnes.
Yeah, this is
into sport management.
So what do we have left? Literacy,
learning and leadership, sociology, and health kinesiology.
Berry Hill for literacy.
Berry Hill's major was literacy, learning, and leadership in college.
Okay.
There you go.
Health kinesiology and leisure studies, Broxton.
That is correct.
So that leaves Dejon Allen for
sociology.
Oh,
all right. How much time do we got left? Because I did do the defense.
A couple of minutes.
All right. Let's do the defense. Yeah. So I will put out the paper. Baker, do you want to read out the 8 majors here?
We have social sciences, interdisciplinary studies, kinesiology, labor studies and employment relations, medical sciences, physical education, petroleum engineering, business administration. I'll start. I got
Micah Awi, petroleum engineering.
Yeah, that's the gimme. Even our producer Jordan got that one. Yeah, I was showing him. All right, some of the players we got here are Tuihema, Betts, Hendricks, Covington, Renee, Finley, and Boyu.
Medical sciences is Finley.
That is correct.
Yep.
Jackson Finley wants to be a pediatric oncologist.
Kinesiology is Patrice.
Incorrect.
Betts, business administration.
That is incorrect as well. You should know Betts, Baker. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I'm sure we have. Betts is social sciences.
He is not social sciences.
Physical education.
That is Matthew Betts. He's a substitute gym teacher.
Oh, yeah.
As we talked about. So,
business administration, Patrice.
Incorrect.
Christian Covington, business administration.
That is incorrect.
Kinesiology for Covington.
That is correct. Christian Covington, kinesiology. So we got interdisciplinary studies, social sciences, what we got? Labor studies and employment.
Labor studies and employment, Patrice Rene.
There you go. Bang for Moj.
Interdisciplinary studies for Hendricks.
Incorrect.
For Sione.
So what do we got left?
Social sciences and business admin, and you have Dwayne Hendricks and Christophe Boyu.
Boyu, social sciences.
Incorrect.
So Boyu's business and social would be Hendricks.
Dwayne Hendricks. There you go. Now you learn some guys' majors in college.
Yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, we write the bios, we know it, but once
Yeah, and a lot of these guys do have their degrees, bachelor degrees in these fields. So it's not just playing a sport, they're actually going to school and getting degrees too. So a lot more will be on the field doing their grad walk on Saturday.
Moj has a degree. Was it political science?
No degree.
I was going to warm you guys up.
I did my coursework, but I didn't get my degree.
Oh, I actually asked you guys at practice today what your guys' majors are. Do you guys have a guess?
Yeah, I don't have a degree technically. It's a diploma. Shout out to BCIT, best school in the land for broadcast media. Broadcast journalism diploma.
Do you know what Moj majored in?
No, I guess
kinesiology and poli-sci.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Poli-sci.
I knew there was a poli-sci connection there.
And then I'm journalism and communications, I guess. Journalism major, communications degree.
And look where it got you. You're in a good spot.
Right here in Surrey, British Columbia.
Would rather be nowhere else. Hey, that was challenging but fun, and good job. You took your time with this. Some nice headshots for those watching on YouTube, and
not the best cutters.
And these are the current headshots we just took in Kamloops, right?
That they are. Well, Jackson Finley has one that gets it would have to be, right?
Yeah, there you go. He could be Nathan Rourke's relative.
We've talked about this. It's very close. This is bad radio, but
yeah, there we go.
As they compare pictures.
Yes, trust us. Just trust us. We're
Google
on
it. You're listening on the radio. You can Google it.
Great job, fellas. Always a pleasure, and we'll be back next Tuesday. A reminder, July 8th, Goodco, Granville, Coors Light specials, Smash Burger specials, and guests on location to be determined. 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock pregame. Rate yourself and Julio Saturday right here on 730 CKNW. Look forward to hearing the broadcast. Always love listening back in the old audio vault. And Nik Kowalski will have everything covered, YouTube, bclions.com. And looking forward to a great crowd. Adult tickets starting at $19. Backyard tailgate party at noon. Marshmallow s'mores. $5 Coors Lights. Should be a good way to kick off another summer season. Thank you to Davis Sanchez for joining us. Thank you to you, the listener. First and now, a presentation of World Vision Canada. And we will return next Tuesday.
School's out and summer's here. Kick it off with the BC Lions Summer Camp Game. Saturday, June 21st at 4 p.m. versus Winnipeg. Backyard games, s'mores, a halftime grad walk. It's the ultimate summer party. Get your tickets at bclions.com.
And for our podcast listeners, our weekly bonus, it is Between the Lines with our good pal Cam Tucker from BCLC and PlayNow.com. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing good there, fellas. Yeah, showing my face around the office today, first time in a while, but we got a different backdrop. As you can see, the wall with the plaster is no longer behind me right now. We got a nice backdrop. So
There you
yeah, I
go.
can't wait to talk some CFL football.
Yeah, let's do it. BC Lions opened as a 2.5 underdog at home to Winnipeg. And you're saying that could shift depending on if number 12, Nathan Rourke, is behind center.
Yeah, my impression when I first saw the lines come out was that 2.5 was probably I felt was a little bit low, to be quite honest. And I did think that, if there's more news on the quarterback situation as the week progresses, which is what you anticipate every week, that line could go to 3.5. I may be pushing it all the way to 4. And the reason I say that is, if Nathan Rourke can't go, you're going with Jeremiah Masoli. And, Jeremiah Mazzoli's been in the CFL for a long time. But it's a difficult task for any quarterback to face the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I think. If anything that I learned from last week's game, it's that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, in my opinion, now are still the team to beat in the West. Saskatchewan is obviously off to a really good start, but Winnipeg just showed that I still think that they're the class of the West. And look, the Lions got a bit of a tough break on this, right? You go from your season opener, you get all this hype, Snoop in town, you played a really good football game against the Elks, and then you have a short week to turn around. And then you got the Blue Bombers in their home opener, and you've got them coming off of a bye week. So they've had extra time to rest, get healthy, game plan. And, I think that the Blue Bombers, came away with obviously the win. They were underdogs going into that game, which even with Chris Streveler as their quarterback was a really interesting line by the books, to be quite honest. And I think the Blue Bombers just showcased why they are still the team to beat in the West. And whether it's Nathan Rourke going this week or Jeremiah Mazzoli, the Lions have a tough task, to be perfectly honest. And if Nathan Rourke cannot go or he's not close to 100%, then I think that we're going to see that line shift throughout the week.
Yeah, a little bit of a more level playing field this week, Cam. You said it, not us. But while there might be an entirely different quarterback matchup, it could be Jeremiah Mazzoli versus Zach Collaros in week 3. The storyline this week is that there are going to be a good 45 guys and coaching staffs that are going against each other in a rematch this week. So from the Lions' perspective, what are you looking to see from this team to bounce back and take down the Bombers in week 3?
Well, I think that for the Lions, it's got to be stop the run and be physical. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they're the team that it's not like they're a predictable offense, but how they operate. They're a run football team. They love to run the football and they commit to it. Yeah. And there they went again in the game on Thursday, and they knew that the Lions were coming off of a short week. So of course, what are we going to do? We're going to be physical. We're going to pound the rock. We're going to commit to it. We're not going to step away from it. And then when we have the opportunity, we're going to hit you with the deep shots. And that's what they did. I think for the Lions, you gotta find a way to stop the run. Because there's a really good chance that in November, if you want to go to the Grey Cup game, you're going to have to go through Saskatchewan or you're going to have to go through Winnipeg. You might have to go into one of those stadiums in the freezing cold in November. And what are those teams going to do? They're going to try to run the football on you. So best right now to make that adjustment and try to stop this run, knowing that Winnipeg's probably going to commit to that run game again, even with Zach Collaros in. Zach Collaros hasn't, taken a regular season snap at full speed yet, right? So that might be a perfect way to ease him into the game is, okay, we're going to run the ball. Now the Lions, you got to stop it. It's coming. Now you got to stop it. The other thing I think too with the Lions that was really, really interesting is like when they got the points, when they had those big shots to Keon Hatcher and they were able to put some points up on the board, they just couldn't get a stop. they would allow a special teams return.
Yeah.
They could not get off the field. And I think that for them, it's really a matter of, we have to limit the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and those explosive plays because those were the ones that hurt them. And, I think that the Lions, to be quite honest, on a short week, they were in it right up until the fourth quarter, and the Blue Bombers just kind of iced that game away. And so I think for the Lions, on the defensive side of the ball, you got to limit those big plays. You got to stop the run. But I also think on offense, you got to get Justin McInnis going. You got to get the run game going too. James Butler, we've seen what he can do. He's a dynamic running back. He's got 1,000 yards in this league. And he's had 10 rushing attempts in each of the last 2 games. He's done, I think, pretty well as catching the ball out of the backfield, but I want to see them assert some physical play and get him running the ball. Dictate the terms to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as opposed to the other way around. So I think that would be the biggest adjustment. And so I'm interested to see how the Lions offensively and defensively approach this game, because what I think it comes down to, or boils down to, is just being more physical than the other team at the line of scrimmage. And the Blue Bombers, quite frankly, won that matchup in the last game. So I think that for the Lions, to take the Michael Jordan approach here, you got to take it personal.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about James Butler when we talk about the weekly boost. But first, week 3 underway Thursday. The Alouettes, the sizzling Alouettes, are in Edmonton. And when it comes to other lines around the league, what stands out for you?
Yeah, what stands out right now, the Montreal Alouettes playing some really good football. They've opened the week at -5.5 against Edmonton. That line has since shifted to -6, which I think is appropriate. Edmonton's just a team right now that I don't think anybody has a lot of confidence in, whereas the Montreal Alouettes are playing really good football out of the gate. And the other big thing, too, is now the Montreal Alouettes going into week 3 are favored to win the Grey Cup with odds of 4.25 at PlayNow. So there's been a shift there. I think it's appropriate. You look at the East Division, and it's basically the Montreal Alouettes and everybody else. They've struggled. There's some good teams in the West. But I think right now the Montreal Alouettes, based on the first 2 weeks of the season, right now are the class of the CFL at this point, and it's reflected in the Grey Cup odds for sure.
All right, Cam, the moment everyone's been waiting for. I think Baker teased it a little bit. We got James Butler involved in this week 3 boost, but what else you got cooking up for week 3 on PlayNow.com?
Yeah, so I looked at this and it was a tough one, because these teams aren't playing each other back to back. So there's adjustments that the coaching staff makes. And so the one thing that caught my eye was the total is 50.5 points. I thought that was a tad high. So I am starting with the under 50.5. I think that defenses have to be on point here. The Lions have had an extra few days to prepare for the Blue Bombers offense. So I think that the defenses in week 3 are going to step up. I think we're going to see a lower scoring game. So I'm taking first off the under 50.5. And then, frankly, James Butler's got to get more involved. I think the Lions, need to commit to the run game against a physical team like Winnipeg and assert themselves. So, I've talked to our product guys, and I want to go with the under 50.5 parlayed with James Butler 50+ rush yards. We'll look for the boost later this week for sure.
The run game against these guys, you said it, always important. And I'll tell you what, we look forward to seeing you on the big screen talking about all these great initiatives at BCLC and PlayNow.com. Looking forward to it.
People what they want for sure.
Face for television, right?
Yeah.
That's Cam Tucker, Between the Lines, weekly segment here all year long, and head to PlayNow.com for all of the latest goodies. We'll talk soon, sir.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Take care.
See you on the weekend, Cam.
All right, another solid outing on First and Now. Thank you to Cam Tucker, as always. PlayNow.com is where you can head to find any shifting, any moving lines. And Nikki, only one practice day to show for it, but I think there's a refreshed attitude. I think, getting a little wake-up call in week 2 can never be a terrible thing. And never mind who's going to start at quarterback. I expect this Lions team to bounce back.
No, they're fired up, right? It's always a little extra when you're playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers these past couple of years. And I don't know, like 2023, there was that vibe where Vernon Adams Jr. goes down and Dane Evans steps up. What's another Hamilton quarterback in Jeremiah Mazzoli potentially stepping up in 2025?
That was Dane Evans came in for a win. Was it a home win against Montreal?
Saskatchewan.
You're right. The first watermelon
mash, which is coming up next month.
You're right. July 19th. Summer camp, though. Let's one home game at a time. Hey, all the great reasons to come and check out this team. One, there's the bounce back factor. Two, you got $5 beers on Terry Fox Plaza. Marshmallow s'mores. I might have to just go hang out outside there and let Alicia or someone handle some of the pregame media.
There you go.
But anyway, life's good. We'll bounce back. The sun came up at practice on Tuesday, and we encourage everyone to get out there. $19 tickets starting for adults. All right, be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review, and we're back next Tuesday with Nik and The MOJ and myself on First and Now, a presentation of World Vision Canada.